Hey everyone, Alex here, and it is time for an astrological update. It is today, the 15th of March 2020, 8:30 p.m. where I am in Eastern Europe, and I'm looking at the charts. I'm following the events. Obviously, there's a lot going on: the coronavirus, lockdowns, state of emergency declared in multiple countries, including the U.S., including Italy, including various countries throughout Europe and the world have declared a state of emergency. That means that the governments are taking special measures. There are restrictions placed on various types of activities and movements. So this is really an interesting time. Now, what I'm seeing here in the charts does point to some conflict, does point to some things blowing out of proportion a bit. And you would expect, well, okay, that's fine, because there's so much going on. There's so much panic. There's so much worry. There's so many things that need to be taken care of, and so many actions that need to be taken in order to prevent the spread of this virus, and naturally so. But you would think that during times like these, the international players, which are many times at odds with each other, right? All of these conflicts that we've been seeing over the past years, the United States, Russia, Iran, Iraq, Russia, Syria, Turkey, all of these things. If any of you follow that, if you follow that from the news, it's not even, you have catching up to do, because the news is propaganda. I mean, let's just say it how it is. I don't care if you think you have the network which tells the truth. You probably don't. It's probably all propaganda, unless it's someone independent who actually cares about the truth and who is incensed about that. So on either side, whether you live in Iran, whether you live in the United States, whether you live in Great Britain, whether you live in Russia, whether you live in Ukraine, if you're getting your news from the news, it's propaganda. I guarantee you. I know you love your favorite news channel. It's no. So if you want to follow what things are actually unfolding into, I will have another channel. I already have that channel. I've put it out, but I'm kind of waiting for the right circumstances where people will pay attention, where people will be interested in knowing what is really happening, for me to start putting out content there. But here I'm going to express this in astrological terms. I'm looking at the astrological charts, and you would think that in times of crisis, where all of these countries need to focus on their internal affairs to protect their citizens from the coronavirus, which they are taking measures to do. Quite obviously, that's their job, and governments will be doing their jobs in this regards. But you would think that all of these international tensions may fizzle out for a bit, and then maybe after the coronavirus is done, then we can start bickering again, right? In fact, I don't think that's the case. And I think that in the following days, especially between the 18th of March 2020 and the 22nd of March, about 3-4 days there, just around the spring equinox, I think we're going to see a rise in tensions. Now, we already saw Saudi Arabia and Russia arguing over control of oil prices. Basically, Saudi Arabia wanting to control the oil prices for their own reasons, which we're not going to get into here. Russia saying no, that's against our interests. That's not going to be good for us. And then they went at each other. And obviously, third parties are going to suffer. Businesses from different countries are going to suffer because of this. That's an entire story in of itself. So, just because there's all this crisis internally that needs to take place, and you would think that this is an opportunity for countries to come together to tackle an issue, it doesn't seem to be that way. And I think that over the next week, we are going to see some tensions rise. Think Syria. I think Syria is something where we're going to see some major moves. Think belligerents in Ukraine. Think Iraq and Iran's involvement in there. Again, do not think along the lines of, oh yeah, I heard something about that in the news, I think I know what's going. No, I'm not talking about what you're being presented in the news. Probably what I'm talking about is far away from that. Okay, it's far away from what you get in the news. It's far away from what you get from conspiracy theorists, right? I sit in neither one of those camps. I'm all about objectivity and looking at things as they are. Even if I'm looking at the stars, and some people may think, well, this is, this is la-di-da, pseudoscience or whatever. I like to be objective about facts on the ground. So expect to see some tensions rising. This is not to fearmonger. This is not to tell you, be on alert. Whatever I'm predicting for you, first of all, take it with a grain of salt. This is what I think we are going to see. I could be wrong. Usually I'm right. That's why I'm making these videos. If I wouldn't be right, usually I wouldn't put myself out there trying to make these forecasts, right? Usually I'm right. I can be wrong. Take this with a grain of salt, and don't attach any emotion to it. Whether I'm going to forecast something positive, whether I'm going to forecast something challenging, do not attach emotion to it. Just run it through your mind. Okay, this astrologer person said, maybe we're going to see something like this. If we are going to see something like this, if you remember that, come back to this channel, because once we do see that, I'm going to probably have the next update to see from there where we are going. Okay, so just because all of these countries have these internal things to take care of, it doesn't mean that the belligerence stops. There's probably all parties, whichever country you are from, you're probably from, you're accustomed to your own culture, you're accustomed to your own news / propaganda. Some of it you believe, some of it you disbelieve, according to how you formed your views. But what I'm seeing is that multiple parties, possibly all parties involved, will take the opportunity of this coronavirus crisis to move pieces on the chessboard while everyone is looking at the screen trying to understand what the heck is going on with this disease. Okay, that's what I foresee. So a bit unstable. The sun is on the equinox. That's an unstable point. Saturn is going into Aquarius. I spoke already about how that may place limitations, boundaries, new rule sets on society and on the collective. Go back and watch my Saturn in Aquarius video. That's a 3-year-long transit. Is going to be very relevant. And come back here for your next update. Tell me if I'm right. Tell me what you think about this. Tell me what you think I should be covering, talking about. Point my attention to something important that is going on in the world or otherwise. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.